of Philly, where the birds take flight. Eagle swag on the rise each and every night. Tone and Markus got the scoop ready to ignite. From the lanes of South Street to the Broad Street lights. Dashing like a running back, hitting every play. Blind guys in the zone, never led astray. Talking touchdowns, talking game day. Huddle around the mic, hear what they gotta say. Fly like an eagle soaring in the sky. Tone and Markus always standing by. Bringing their heat, call it do or die. Philly squad, hear the battle cry. Fly like an eagle soaring in the sky. Tone and Markus always standing by. Bringing their heat, call it do or die. Philly squad, hear the battle cry.
What's going on, y'all? The hunt begins again.
Yes.
We are already back at combine time. What's going on, Tone?
Man, time flies, bro. Time flies.
Does.
I'm excited to be here as always. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to both channels. That's Pro Fan Talk and Chalk It Up Sports. He's Marcus Thomas. I'm your guy, Tone DeShields II. You guys are locked in on the Bald Eagles podcast. You know how we carry it here. You know where our baldies be. You feel me? So, Marcus, you know, a lot of people, a lot of talking today.
Yeah,
a lot of talking today, and I'm jumping right into it. You know, no fluff. You know, no reason to dance around it. We all know what the topic of discussion has been primarily throughout the offseason, right?
absolutely.
It's been about AJ Brown's future in Philadelphia, and Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni spoke today at the combine. They didn't say anything that I didn't expect them to say. But I want to get your instant thoughts. I don't know. I don't know how much you watched, how much you listened to, but I
saw clips. I have not watched any entire video or press conference. I haven't watched anything.
Well, just to put it in context, just to give you a foundation, essentially, Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman, they both want AJ Brown here. They expect AJ Brown to be here. They don't want him gone.
Right.
But like Howie said, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't listen.
Absolutely. Keep it a buck. Keep it a buck.
I think that is, some people may call it cold. Some people may say, oh, no, they want him out of here. I say that's exactly what the definition of his job is.
Right. And I don't think there's much like we have to get it done. This is too much. We got to get him out of here. It's a problem. They are not thinking like that. And I think, honestly, they're kind of gauging what, how AJ Brown is talking. Because the one thing I have confidence in, if AJ Brown really, really wanted to leave, he would have let Howie know, and Howie would have made it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least that would be in the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just don't see that, because the sports media perspective on it and the team's perspective on it are so far apart, it's not even funny. So I've said it from the giddy up. It'll be a detriment to this team if he's not here. Everybody can still get mad on the tweets and whatever podcasts he's doing and trying to troll people, winking at, the Patriots fans and all of that kind of stuff. I'm like, come on, it's too obvious, when he's trying to troll and try to do the stuff that he's doing. And then he drops I talked about this yesterday, the video he did about the mental health awareness. So, at the end of the day, to me, that just, like when we talked about that conversation yesterday, to me, that just confirmed what I have said many times before during the season. When you're dealing with somebody like that has had mental health issues, he is wired different, and he has to do things his way, period. because that is the way that works for him, period, in full stop. And that, to me, that is the thing that people get uncomfortable with. They don't like that because it's not looking how they want it to look. So they have a problem with it. We don't need somebody on the sidelines doing this. You shouldn't be reading the book. You tweak too much. I don't like the way you can't do that and then not play well. And then, well, if he didn't do any of it, it didn't play well, what difference would it make? It wouldn't have any difference because at the end of the day, you're still looking for the result on the field. That's what it comes down to. Unfortunately for A.J. Brown, he had his worst game, arguably, as a pro in the worst possible moment in the playoff. Everybody gets a turn. But at the end of the day, I still want him on my team. I don't believe he's over the hill yet. I believe he'll still play at a high level. I'm still thinking he got at least 2 to 3 years left where he can play at a high level before time starts to catch up with him. Because he's somebody, he don't go out with the nightlife. So he doesn't, because he has the mental health stuff, his stress is different than other people's stress. So he's not going to put any extra on what he's doing, which is why I mentioned he don't have a nightlife. He ain't going to strip clubs. That's not him. So that's not something that you have to worry about. You just got to worry about him being on the field, putting it down. I think his frustration last year came from the offense just looking like trash and not getting him the ball enough and not, no need to rehash all of that. We knew what his issues were. And then, come to that last game, everybody's dropping balls. Everybody was dropping balls. And I think he was dead on not to speak to the media. Because I guarantee you he would have said something he would have regretted. And I'm like, if that's what you got to do, fine. Because at the end of the day, if that's how you got to protect your mental health and your well-being, do whatever you got to do. Pay the fine because you didn't talk or whatever. But if that's what works for you, I can accept that because of his track record. That's the biggest thing for me. He's not been a malcontent before. I don't think he's a malcontent now. He's not getting in trouble. You ain't gonna see him in the blotter for going 135, down Broad Street. He doesn't do that type of stuff. You barely see him. I've seen him in 2 commercials since he's been with the Eagles. So
that's a good point.
He's not out there like that. So for me, he gets the benefit of the doubt. He's still somebody, when we sign somebody, he's the first person. You got to talk to Jalen, you got to talk to AJ. Those are the 2 leaders on the team. I want to introduce you to this guy because this guy will make you feel welcome. To me, he still got that type of aura about him. The problem is everybody on the outside looking in that want to project what they want from him on him. And I go back to when we was having this conversation in 23 and he came on WIP unprompted by his own volition. He called the radio station because he heard what they were talking about. And he was like, where are y'all getting this from?
Yeah. 2024. That was a 2024 offseason.
Was that 24?
Yeah.
Was it going
they were coming off that collapse?
Or,
it was coming off that collapse, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And it's like, why? Like, I ain't never said nothing. But, and here's the kicker. He said it. Whatever I say, y'all gonna spin it the way you want to spin it. And that's exactly what they did. Fast forward to the end of this season. Yeah. He doesn't talk to nobody. He daps up all his teammates. He gave his jersey to one of the rooks. He dapped up and talked to everybody he needed to talk to. Talked to Jalen, talked to Myalata. He did everything he had to do to the teammates. He owes nothing to the media. Nothing. the fact that they can talk to AJ Brown while they're in there, I know they are doing their job, but there's plenty of other people you can talk to. You don't have to talk to AJ, and he ain't got to talk to you. That's a benefit that you get. So I think he saved his own self some stress, because what your mom say? If you ain't got nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all.
I think AJ, he strikes me as the kind of guy who prefers to be useful.
Agreed.
And he puts a lot of work in the offseason. He talks about it often. He's very transparent about his work ethic, his process. We've seen the vlog with him and Anaya Smith jogging around the stadium. We've seen him work out with some of the most ruthless fitness guys in Jersey. I believe those guys are in Newark or in Camden. I'm not entirely sure, or Trenton, but some of the most ruthless fitness guys on the East Coast. We've seen how he discusses his process as well, and we've heard in interviews how much he values making an impact. I know a lot of people say that the position, it's baked in that they're divas, it's baked in that they're emotional guys, that they're ego driven. I think you don't make it to the NFL without being somewhat ego driven.
That is 100% correct.
You can't be one of these top guys. You can't be one of these elite guys without being able to tap into that ego in a healthy way. So what I'm trying to say is AJ Brown has always been very clear about his expectations with the team, always been clear about the expectations with himself, and he's never asked more of anyone else than he asks of himself.
Exactly.
And he's always made it clear that I'm willing to take the bullets from the media so I can get the point across to my guys. And through everything AJ Brown has ever said, and we've said it on the show, did he say anything wrong? I think not.
He's always kept it 100.
Right. So I think so. Again, when he's not able to make an impact, and again, it'd be different if he's not able to make an impact by his own contribution. That's something he would have to deal with from within. But I can only imagine how much it messes with your psyche when you know you're putting in the work, you know you ain't lost a step, and nonetheless, the offense is still not as productive as it's supposed to be. It's probably so frustrating when you know what the problem is and you can't fix it. I think for me as a man, that's one of my largest qualms. That's one of my personality quirks. And I don't even think that's exclusive to me. I think that's a human thing, right?
That's a man thing, in my opinion. That's a man thing.
To be faced with the problem.
We are wired to solve problems.
You know what? I think I'm going to lean on the side of that, because that's something I deal with in my relationships. The fact that I never like to be put in a situation where I'm unable to contribute to the solution. Right. You see, if I can contribute to the failure, I want to be able to contribute to the solution. And the Eagles were in a situation in 2020, in the 2025-2026 season where they had no solutions. And every time you thought they had one, it was a Band-Aid, or it didn't last the full game. It only lasted a quarter or a half or a drive. That team was ill-equipped that entire season. And I refuse to believe that A.J. Brown or that team, that offense, all of a sudden forgot how to play football for halves on end. I can't buy that. So, bringing it back to the Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni interviews about A.J. Brown, I think all in all, they want A.J. Brown in this building. They know they're better with A.J. Brown than without A.J. Brown.
Absolutely.
They know A.J. Brown is a high-impact player. And, people say, oh, trade you can find another wide receiver. Maybe. But every wide receiver isn't a cheat code the way AJ Brown is. Like there are certain guys. There's a lot of good receivers in this league. Let's make it clear. There's a lot of good receivers in this league. There's a lot of great receivers in this league. But there are certain receivers in the league that when you throw them the ball or when you get the ball in their hands,
they're going to make some things happen.
Quite literally, anything can happen. And I mean that in a positive sense.
Yeah, absolutely. They're the playmaker.
Yeah, they're playmakers. There's players and then there's playmakers. I think A.J. Brown is in that playmaker category at the very least for the next 2 to 3 seasons. I do believe, though, he is on the downward side of his prime just because of age, not because of preparation or skill. He's 29 years old or 28, I think. He'll be 29 when the season starts. Just based off the law of NFL physics, he's on. I
think he's getting there. I don't think he's there yet. So he's one of those dudes. He's one of those dudes that just takes care of himself to the nth degree.
Yes, he does, but he has been dealing with a nagging hamstring the past couple seasons. He has. So I'll say this. Well, let me ask you, because I feel like he's over the hill. I'm not saying he's plummeting. I think he's just crossed that hill of prime. He's in it still. Like think of it like a, what do you call that? Is that a bell? No, is that a bell curve? Bell curve. I think he's still in that prime area. He's still in that prime zone. But I think he's on the opposite side of that bell curve now, simply because of age, not because of preparation, not because of skill. It just happens to him. So
it'll be interesting to see what Mannion does with the offense.
Yes, and I think that's going to make a big difference because I think what I saw last year was a team, a quarterback and a wide receiver that wasn't executing on that deep ball, but also it was hard to execute on that when people know what's coming consistently. I want to see A.J. Brown get utilized more in that intermediate.
Because we've seen it before.
Absolutely.
We've seen A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith eat. And it was never a question of who was getting too many balls or any of that. There was enough for everybody to eat, and then it stopped. And sometimes I think Kevin Patullo was in a situation where I have no doubt that they were prepared. They had what they thought was a good game plan. And then it got to a point where, okay, we had some good stuff called up. And then after we ran it, they knew what we was running. They sniffed it out. What's next? What's the next curveball you got? And I don't think Kevin Patullo was ready for that next thing.
Hard stop. And that's where it was a hard stop for Kevin Patullo. He didn't have enough counters.
He didn't have enough bullets in the gun.
He would always come to the you can only be, and you said it. You said you have no doubt they were prepared. I think everybody has a different level of what their being prepared is. And some people, they can prepare as much as they want. Their capacity is still their capacity. And I feel like Kevin Patullo's capacity lacked depth.
Agreed.
And Kellen Moore's capacity had plenty of depth. And that's what separates guys. Shane Steichen had the capacity. Kevin Patullo's cup was shallow.
I always use the chess analogy. You're supposed to move like 6 moves ahead, but if you can only think 3 moves ahead, you can always get beat.
That's just, and guess what? You're not wrong. That's just your limitations.
Correct.
And when you're running an elite offense like this, or when you have elite talent like this, you cannot afford to have a shallow cup. You have to know how to get these guys going when you know you got a lot of mouths to feed. You see, in my opinion, it's easy to build an offense around one guy. It's easy to draw a place for just one guy. When you got an A.J. Brown on your team, a Saquon Barkley, a Devontae Smith, a Dallas Goedert, hopefully he's here. We'll see how it goes. A Jalen Hurts at quarterback. When you have that gamut, that smorgasbord of options, you better know what you're doing, and you need to be at the very least creative and know how to get the ball in those guys' hands and put them in positions to succeed. If anything, don't let you be the reason why. Right. So I think Howie and Nick No. And Howie said it. He said defense wasn't a problem for us. Defense wasn't our issue. Our problem was putting guys in positions to succeed. And the reason why we hired Sean Mannion, perfect segue, the reason we hired Sean Mannion is because when we went through our process, he had enough answers for the test. He was able to provide us with something that we needed to hear. So it is going to be interesting to see how Sean Mannion deploys these guys, because Howie said our job is to make sure he has plenty to work with, because Sean is a talented dude. He's smart. We vetted him closely. We vetted his references. We threw everything at him. And
we'll be lucky. We'll be lucky to get 2 years out of him.
The reality
I think he's going to be good, and I think it's going to be another situation like Kellen Moore and Steichen, where he's going to be that good, and we're going to be sitting here next year like, damn, why couldn't we do that last year? So
you win a Super Bowl, I pay that price.
There you go.
And that's the thing, right? You know, it pays. It's a cost to be the boss. And we just watched Seattle lose Clint Kubiak. Their first year OC. This was Kubiak's first year at OC in Seattle, right?
Yes.
And now Clint is the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, Clint Kubiak was the OC in New Orleans in 2024, then became the OC in Seattle in 2025, and now he's the head coach for Vegas. 1 year, they got him, man. He did what he did for them. Now we'll see if Seattle's able to replicate their success. We're going to find out just how much of an impact he made from a creative standpoint, because he had Jason Njigba looking great. Obviously, Jackson Smith and Njigba had to do his job to catch the ball and make the plays, but he created a lot of those situations. So, you know, I do think AJ Brown will be here in 2025. I do, personally. And them hiring Sean Mannion, you know, some people argue Nick Sirianni is a lame duck head coach. Some people argue he was hired to support Nick Sirianni. Some people feel like, why would you go young? You need experience there. Some people say, hey, experience is overrated. You need somebody that's creative and brings fresh ideas. There's so many angles. My point is, there's so many angles you can approach this thing from. Which angle will you choose?
Yeah. But the bad part about it is you can't forget how bad the offensive line was.
And that is the thing that hasn't been talked about enough in these interviews, personally.
I agree 100%.
It hasn't been talked about enough.
You still got people talking about the run game like we were like the offensive line was blocking like they used to block, and just Saquon just wasn't getting it done. And I'm like,
that's the
right there.
Guess what?
I know you didn't watch the game.
But Marcus,
I know you didn't watch the game.
The answer is right there in front of us. That's the easy conversation to have.
That's low-hanging fruit.
That's the easy conversation to have. It's easy for me to say Saquon lost a step. That's the sexy topic. That's the salacious topic. That's the topic that's going to get people hitting them like buttons and clicking. That's going to bring the wolves out. Saquon Barkley lost a step.
Brings the hyenas.
But the educated talk, the less interesting talk. Damn. Why didn't Jurgens pick up that block when he was supposed to do this and do that? Why didn't Landon pull? And you know, why didn't Steen pin, pull, and go? Like it's so many. It's so much into that. And I'm not a guru when it comes to the O-line position. I'm not, but I love watching great offensive line play, and you know it when you see it. And trust me, with the Eagles, we didn't see it last year.
No, we didn't.
We saw all pros and Pro Bowlers getting beat by run-of-the-mill moves, which made me believe, oh, these guys can't be healthy. They can't be healthy. You can't convince me Jordan Mailata, a former an all-pro. You can't convince me Landon Dickerson, a 3-time Pro Bowl. You can't convince me Cam Jurgens, a 2-time Pro Bowler, no matter how you feel about the second one. You can't convince me that Tyler Steen, an ascending starter in this league at the guard position, who's been coached by one of the best. You can't convince me that Lane Johnson, all Pro Bowler, future Hall of Famer, 2-time Super Bowl champion. You can't convince me that these guys forgot how to play football. But what you can convince me of, they were not fully healthy. And we knew Lane, his season ended rather quickly.
No. And when you try to gut it out, the reality exists that whatever your effort level is when you are injured is going to be a detriment to the team. And I think that's exactly what happened.
Yes. And I say it all the time.
27 talking about retiring.
Exactly. That tells you everything you need to know. And I say it all the time, and I've yet to hear somebody say it like this, but I've said it multiple times. I believe that 2,000-yard season did more damage to that offensive line than it did to the running back. But that's not the sexy talk, though. People were so funny? When people talk about those 2,000-yard rushers and, oh man, it's so hard for them to have that back. It's so hard for them to have that bounce back season or have a comparable season. Well, first of all, if you run for 2,000 yards, you're not going to do it again 2 years in a row. You're just not going to do it. But can you have a good season, right? And I still feel like Saquon had a decent season, all things considered. But
he did.
We get so caught up talking about the running backs losing a step after that 2,000-yard season. We talk about that often, even in history, with Eddie George and Derrick Henry, and I can go on and on, right? Chris Johnson when he was with the Titans, right? Like, they talk all the time about how the running back lost a step that year, but never talk about whether or not the offensive line was as good as they were.
Correct. And that's where it all starts and ends. You can't win if you can't score. You can't score if your offensive lineman can't block. It all works together. So when they say somebody's lost a step, Saquon's lost a step, immediately I know that they haven't been watching Philadelphia. They just throwing out quotes to have quotes. They haven't been watching film.
With Lane Johnson voicing his return and Landon Dickerson saying he's coming back, and Cam Jurgens saying he went to
Switzerland or somewhere.
He went south of the border, but he went to I think he went to Colombia or something like that. He went to South America. For one, I was shocked Lane said he's coming back. I was just shocked. Not because I don't think he doesn't have it anymore from a talent perspective or skill. It's just, Liz Frank, he was dealing with he had got the tightrope surgery a while back. His ankles kind of was bothering him for a stretch in his career. Then he finally got right and had all Pro and Pro Bowl seasons after that and became a Super Bowl champion. A second Super Bowl champion. Landon dealt with everything he's dealt with. This Eagles team, this organization that is, and I expect Howie Roseman to address it, but it's still got to get talked about. They got to start thinking about the future of their line. And I think they got to start thinking about it a little earlier than they thought.
Yeah, I agree.
We knew Lane's time was running out. That was a given. But I think they got to start thinking about the future of this line beyond Lane Johnson.
And they have, but those some awfully big shoes to fill. Those some awfully big shoes. Think about it like this. We got lucky because we got somebody in-house now that's going to replace Brandon Graham. We got somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
Offense is a little bit more difficult. Are you going to get a playmaker, a stud, or are you just going to get another guy? So, in when we get, after all of this, the combine, the layoff, then we get camp heating up all the way till we get back into training camp again. You never know what you're going to get because we get the package, but you can't open it until camp starts.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't inspect the goods. You don't we hear that story every year on every team. The high draft pick turns out to be just another guy. The nobody, the Mr. Irrelevant, turns out to be the starter that you need. We got Darius Cooper. You got Mr. Irrelevant out in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
You got Puka Nacua in LA.
A BYU receiver.
A BYU receiver that, for all intent and purposes, they didn't scout him. Didn't he run with one of his teammates? He was not sought after at all. But the point I'm making is that you gotta roll the dice and hope you get a guy like that if you plan on replacing AJ Brown. You hoping you get a guy like that. I hope Darius Cooper turns out to be that guy. I think he has the potential to be the offensive version of Jalen Hunt. How do you miss the talent like Jalen Hunt? He ran a 40. He did the bench press. You saw his tape.
Markus.
How did they miss that?
Markus, the school.
But what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to take when you working somebody out, you're supposed to take the labels off the package. It's not supposed to matter that they went to Alabama or Eastern Kentucky or University of Michigan or Michigan State or Miami of Ohio or University of Cincinnati or Dayton or Kentucky, or it doesn't matter.
Well, guess what, Markus?
Why does it matter that you went to a small school if you ran a 4.30?
But you want to know why? You want to know why? Because Fruit Loops are better than Fruitios. You get where I'm going?
Yes.
You get where I'm going? Fruit Loops look a lot better in your pantry than Fruitios.
Shout out to the Fruitios.
and shout out to the Fruitios. If you know, you know. Shout out to Aldi's.
Oh, you know.
Shout out to Aldi's. That's why a guy like Jalen Hunt, but granted, he was still drafted pretty high for his school, 3rd round.
Yes, he was.
Which tells you that the Eagles were able to look past the package and pay attention to the product.
Right. Because you can still go back the 3 rounds before they got him. All them people before him that got picked. And all you got to do is just look up, okay, everybody at his position, what did they do? What did they do? And that's your answer right there. We wanted, or at least I wanted, that defensive end from Boston College that ended up going to Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
How did he end up doing his rookie year? He was okay. He wasn't bad. He was solid. Was he Jalen Hunt good? Nope.
Look,
to your point, they want them labels. They want them big labels, man.
Right. And to be fair to some of these GMs and these evaluators, just because of the sample size and because of the pedigree, you should be able to find more talent at the bigger school.
You should.
That's the logic. The bigger and better the school, the more or deeper the talent pool. That's the logic. So I'm not totally oblivious to why they do what they do.
Yeah, we know what the deal is.
We know how it goes, but
we know how the sausage is made.
Right. Like now, in all fairness, you're not drafting somebody out of Houston Christian in the 1st round. You're just not going to do it. You're just not going to do it. But when you get deeper into that draft, when you get into that 3rd, 4th, 5th round, now you can start. Now the high rollers come out to play. Now the guys who know what they're doing at the poker table, hey, Yumbo, move over. The OGs is here now. So you got to know what you're looking at. You got to be able to separate the school from the town. I think when you get past that 2nd round, when you get into that 3rd, anything 3rd round and beyond, now it's about your eye test. Now it's about, hey, forget what school he went to. Can he do what you need him to do at a high level? Look at the body type. Look at the measurables. Jalen Hunt.
Here's the funny part with that, Tone. Why is it that now we have all this technology, we have all this communication, we got all of these tests, we got all of this information, but in 1985, the San Francisco 49ers drafted a kid out of Mississippi Valley State that turned out to be the GOAT at his position. Jerry Rice came from a HBCU.
Mm-hmm.
And they got him in the first round. So you can come from a small school. The prerequisites that you need have not changed. The only thing that has changed is how much visibility you have. And that's been the biggest been the biggest thorn in the side for people picking the right talent. To your point, how many times does somebody get passed up on because there's somebody available that went to a bigger school? Did you watch the tape, though? Did you watch the tape? How many people passed on Cooper DeJean? They knew he could jump out the gym. They knew he could return punts. They knew he could cover. But how many people passed on him? Why did you pass on him? Because he went to Iowa? What was the reason? What was the talent there? If you peel the labels off and you saw what the guy did, why would you pass on that? And that happens every freaking year. We are lucky. We are very lucky that we got somebody like Howie Roseman that can sift through the bullshit and find a diamond in the rough and all of that type of stuff.
Yeah,
we were laughing at Crash Test Covey for a minute till he came through in the clutch a couple times. He ain't looked that bad as slot.
And guess what? I'm glad my man got a Super Bowl ring. They brought him back on the roster. I'm glad, man.
Absolutely.
I was thinking, because I was asking the people about this. I was making the Jalen Hunt Nolan Smith comp, and Nolan is obviously a year ahead of him from a draft class standpoint. Jalen is entering year 3, Nolan entering year 4. The Eagles are going to have to make a decision when it comes to Nolan Smith's 5th-year option.
Right.
They got to make that decision this offseason. I think they got to make the decision before April. And Nolan Smith played essentially half a season last year, had to recover from the tricep surgery that he had got in the offseason. He re-injured it, had to get it worked on again. And in the meantime, Jalen Hunt had a breakout season. Now, Granted, I expected Jalen Hunt and Nolan Smith to be on the field regardless of what happened. Both of them to be on the field. But Jalen Hunt had the kind of season that you can't
deny it.
You can't just deny what he did. He led the team in sacks and led the team in interceptions. Has a pick 6. He had I can't remember the exact number, but just follow my perspective here. He had the same amount of QB hits in one season, the 2025 season, as Nolan Smith did in 3 of his total seasons in the league.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Nolan Smith isn't a good player. I think ultimately the Eagles will pick up his option. It's going to afford him flexibility. But health is wealth. The best ability is availability. And Vic Fangio's defense, one of the best abilities is versatility. And what Jalen Hunt showed me in 2025 is that he can get to the quarterback just as well as Nolan.
Yep.
But his coverage skills are bar none compared to Nolan. Nolan's coverage skills are not where Jalen Hunt's coverage skills are. Now, granted, that's because Jalen used to be a DB.
Correct.
And he converted to edge.
He still got that muscle memory.
And then when you look at just the physical profile, right? Jalen Hunt, 6'4", 252. 6'3", 6'4", 252. Nolan Smith, 6'2", 238. I'm sorry, those 14 pounds make a big difference on that football field.
Yes, sir.
In run defense, and beating your blockers and being able to hold up and being able to stay healthy. I think Nolan Smith is a tremendous talent. I think his pass rush ability, his speed is ridiculous. I think Nolan probably has better raw speed. I think Nolan is probably the more talented pass rusher.
North-South guy. Yeah.
I think he's the more talented guy at the edge, at the pass rusher skill. But it's going to be interesting to see how they play that going forward in terms of who they decide to keep long term. Will Nolan be able to stay healthy? Right? Because remember when he came out. Remember when he came out. What's the one thing he said when he came out of college, when he got drafted, that made you tilt your head a bit? Do you remember what he said?
Who?
Nolan. He got drafted draft night. Do you remember what he said?
What did he say?
He said they asked him about that shoulder. He said sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. Remember that?
I don't.
He basically said, yeah, sometimes it do what it want to do. I was like, whoa, okay, all right. Now, granted, that shoulder wasn't an issue his rookie season because he really didn't get as much reps as he should have. Showing the side, rookie DC. Things was haywire that year for the young talent.
Mm-hmm.
Not just him, but everybody. His second season, and again, I want to be fair. I want to be fair to Nolan. Nolan Smith, his second year, when he actually got ticked, when he actually got reps, 6.5 sacks in the regular season, 4 sacks in the playoffs, 10.5 sacks for the whole year, including the playoffs, was clutching the playoffs. In that Rams game, in that Green Bay game, 2 sacks in the Green Bay game. He was phenomenal. He was phenomenal. Then this year, down year, still had 3 sacks in 12 games, but couldn't really stay healthy. Came on in the back end of the year, didn't make the impact that we all thought he would make in the third season because of injury. But Jalen comes out and does what he does. I think the Eagles have a good problem on their hands. Don't get it twisted.
Absolutely, they got a problem.
They have 2 young ascending pass rushers, 2 young ascending edge rushers.
Everybody wishes they had our problems.
But when I listen to when Howie Roseman is speaking, and this is to bring it full circle back to them press conferences. You see, it's never just the A.J. Brown talk. It's an everybody talk. He said, I got a job to put the best 52-man roster on that football field. Right. I got a job. My job is to make decisions and trim the fat. So best believe these conversations are happening. They're happening. And this isn't even, and here's the reality, all right? What Nolan Smith eats don't make Jalen Hunt shit and vice versa.
Correct.
Their success or this conversation isn't meant to infringe on the other. The reality is both brothers have talent. Both brothers are good at what they do. Both brothers got to continue to prove it. And so far, and you know how it goes, this is the what have you done for me lately league. Right now, and both of them are Super Bowl champions. Because I think Jalen Hunt came on in the second half of that season. His numbers don't show it, but BG went down. Jalen Hunt stepped up. We didn't miss a beat. People forget about that because his numbers don't show it.
Agreed.
When Jalen Hunt came in,
he did work
after that Rams game. His numbers
Sometimes
don't show
it,
but if you saw what you saw, if you saw what you saw and knew what you was watching, you saw Jalen Hunt was in the mix.
He was in the mix.
He was playing to run well, something they thought he couldn't do. So if you have to ask me who's in pole position right now to get that long-term extension, because the Eagles are always trying to figure out how they got guys to pay on that defense, y'all. Let's have the real talk now. The combine is here. They're looking at first talent to come in. Free agency is here. There's guys they got to make decisions on, right?
Gotta start the process.
The reality is they're looking at this roster. They're looking at all these guys in their team, and they're saying to themselves, where can I get value? Where can I get the most bang for my buck? How can I get the most from my investment?
And the word value is different for different people. So I agree with everything you said 100%. And this kind of falls back on Howie, you got it, bro. This is where you earn your money. This is where you earn your keep. Continue to do what you've been doing for the last 7 to 8 years. Do that. Yeah, we missed the opportunity. Yes, we should have won. If we would have made it, we definitely would have won. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, don't do nothing but round. So let's grind it back in, focus, and get ready to launch this thing again because the window's still open. And we'll see what we're going to see.
Because they asked them about the contracts with Coop and Quinyon. They asked them. They asking them already. These guys entering year 3, both of them coming off of first-team All-Pro seasons. Pro Bowl.
They'll never get rid of them too.
I know that.
They a package deal.
Exactly, right? the uncomfortable talk is everybody can't stay.
No.
We love these guys. We won with these guys. Everybody can't stay.
No.
That
Gotta
Georgia,
make the decisions, the tough decisions.
that Georgia nucleus, everybody not gonna be able to stay, y'all. That's the cold. That's the cold rap fact.
That's the cold reality of the NFL.
And
they can cut you for no reason. They don't like your shoelaces. Cut.
Marcus, this where it get real scary for me, at least for me. And again, y'all, I'm speaking from the perspective of this shit make me nervous, but it also makes me excited. That defense has done nothing but trend up, and that
they ain't going nowhere.
And that defense has done nothing but be successful off of young talent. They've drafted.
Defense ain't going nowhere.
You gotta pay, or at least figure it out. And Howie said our best course of action. He said the best course of action is extending guys rather than signing a bunch of one-year deals. He said that. He said for our long-term future, our best course of action is extending guys instead of just trying to find a bunch of one-year fix-its. But you got to pay, like we said, Cooper DeJean at some point, who's going to be the highest paid nickel in football when he gets paid. Quinyon Mitchell, who may be able to demand being one of the highest paid corners when it comes up. Then
that's
you got
a blessing and a curse.
A blessing and a curse. Then you got Jalen Carter, who maybe did you a solid by spitting on Dak Prescott, maybe knocked a couple million off. Maybe. You could lace that contract with a bunch of incentives and a bunch of off ramps. But we know the talent is the talent, and you got to pay that. You got to pay to play. Jordan Davis, who came off of easily his best season by far. I think what Jordan Davis showed me above all else is that he can get to it without Jalen Carter. That was a big sign for me, because Jalen Carter missed some of that season last year. There were stretches where we saw Jordan Davis without Jalen Carter. We saw it plenty, and we saw Jordan Davis getting to it. So Jordan Davis, the price just went up, right?
Absolutely.
Zack Baun's entering year 2 of that deal, right? He's going to be looking to figure out what his long-term contract is looking like. For these players, it's never about the last year of the deal. It's about that second to last year of the deal. That's where the talks happen. Second to last year, not the last year. So what you gonna do with Zack Baun going forward? Jahai Campbell entering year 2, a young player who's ascending, right? Snaps kind of went down towards the back end of the season, but that's because Nakobe Dean was doing what he was doing. Case in point, what are you gonna do in Nakobe Dean? He's a free agent now. He could take whatever deal come his way now.
To me, he's the keystone.
Elaborate on that.
In my opinion, Nakobe Dean, him having the green dot, controlling the offense, he's the straw that stirs the drink. He's the guy that, for all intent and purposes, had been written out because he dislocated his kneecap. Mm-hmm. But he came back, and not only was he good, in some situations, he was the best player on that defense. So I hope we have that problem again, because all you want as an athlete is an opportunity to show people what you can do. And damn it, if he didn't do that, and I'd hate to see him go, because he's getting to the situation where he knows everything. He knows everything about the defense.
This is going to be interesting. This will be interesting. I think overall, Howie Roseman has to find a way to keep this thing on the rails while still adding carts to the caboose. Like,
okay,
this thing, at some point, people expect this train to get to the station. That station being the window being closed.
Facts.
And Howie has done an amazing job finding ways to reinvent what your Super Bowl window is. His ability to build windows. He's a hell of a contractor. He's a hell of a carpenter. He knows how to open your rooms up. He knows how to knock down walls and hey, let's put an entertainment system over here.
He gonna put in that bathroom.
He know how to put in the bathroom. Showers. He know how to build floor. You know how hard it is to add floors to a house? That's one of the hardest things to do when building, like adding floors after the house already exists. To add floors.
That's what costs so much damn money.
Howie Roseman knows how to add floors to a house you're already living in.
Yeah. But what do you have to do when you add a floor? You got to make sure the old one is gone first.
Moving on. Trimming the fat where necessary. Making room for the new. Moving on from the old. You know? And I'm curious to see what his method is going to be this year, because I look at that defense and I say to myself, you don't need much. That defense was that good. What are they going to do with the Jalen Phillips contract? They asked him about that. He said, at the end of the day, we can have one evaluation of a player, but something comes in with that health, and next thing you know, it changes. So I don't know what the likelihood of them bringing Jalen Phillips back is, because you still got to. He's a free agent.
Correct.
He's going to be able to write his own ticket. Hopefully, we'll see how that goes. Nakobe Dean is going to be a free agent. Dallas Goedert is a free agent. I saw some people put in the chat, "Hey, package these guys." You can't. They're free agents.
I thought Goddard was gone.
They're free agents.
He still might be.
Still might be, but they're free agents. So, and you got the draft coming up. Howie is weighing all these things. He loves his compensatory picks. What? Let's lean in on the Dallas Goedert talk. Do you think today, because the opinion can change today, do you think the Eagles are willing to pay Dallas Goedert to bring him back? Now, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that number is. Whatever number is in your head.
He's gonna have to give him the hometown discount. Because I don't. He's the one that I don't want him to keep. Let him go. Let him go.
A lot of people disagree with that.
I mean, for the same reason, A.J. Brown, we don't know what we're going to get with Mannion's offense.
Okay.
I think what's going to happen with Mannion is Mannion's going to start doing some things, and we're going to all be side-eyeing Nick Sirianni, and we're going to be like, and you couldn't figure that out. How come he can do it? Mr. just still fresh out of the league for 3 years. How come he can do it, but you can't do it? And even that, again, we got to remember this, bro. Anytime you try to kick some drama, you trying to kick it to Sirianni because you don't believe he's a good coach, guess what? He won. He got you to the game twice. So you got to keep that in consideration. I don't care if you like him or not. But we are going to be side-eyeing him if Mannion comes in with an offense that can put together two consistent halves of football.
Sorry, that made me laugh. That's a damn thing.
Bruh, that's got to be, oh my gosh. We can't be bipolar again. We can't be making up stuff at the last minute, throwing bubble screens and wide receiver screens and all that kind of stuff. We can't be as predictable. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. We're not going to be as predictable as we were. And let's be real, whatever Mannion does, we still going to add the tush push at the end of it. So we, just to have some new eyes on a situation, just to have some new brains trying to put some things together, there's enough newness to this offense where everybody's excited to see what's coming next. So are they? You already know I'm elated that they even mentioned the word zone run block, zone runs, zone reads. I'm ecstatic. I can't wait.
Yeah.
And if it gets done the way it should be done, Saquon might run for another 1,800.
Saquon was pretty he had a couple interviews. He was promoting some stuff for the Red Cross. He had a couple interviews where he mentioned how he's very I think the word he used was excited and refreshing. Those are the two words he decided to use, right? And I don't think that's by accident.
No.
Of course you're gonna say the things you're supposed to say as a pro, but exciting and refreshing. Let's lean in on the refreshing word though. Whatever was happening before, whatever was happening before was stale. And I think you have to find more unique ways to get Saquon involved in your offense instead of just handing the ball off. I know Saquon Barkley for the past 5 seasons, his receiving numbers hasn't been what we're accustomed to seeing it as.
Right.
You know, his highest receiving totals was in his rookie year with the Giants, and then ever since then it's been declining. But the reality is the past 5 seasons for Saquon Barkley from a receiving standpoint is actually, or more so, his past 2 seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles from a receiving perspective has actually been par for the course when you look at his past 5 seasons. From a production standpoint, receiving that is, Saquon has always teetered between that 270 to 330 range in receiving yards in the season. He's been flirting with that for the past 4 or 5 seasons consistently. His from the 5-year sample size, his lowest total was 263 on 41 catches and 57 targets. His highest was 76 targets, 338 receiving yards, 57 receptions. Right? Now, I will say with the Eagles, his targets are the least they've been in the past 5 years.
Right.
His last 3 years with the Giants, each of those years he has more targets than his last 2 seasons with the Eagles.
Yeah. And you know why that happened? Because the offensive line was trash.
Right. But where it's interesting, though, for me, and again, this is just receiving, his yards per reception has actually been its highest it's been since his 2019 season.
Yep.
His 2019 season, and I'm excluding his 2020 season because he only played 2 games. His 2019 season was a career high for him, averaging 8.4 yards per reception. And again, I know when you look at his stats, you're going to see that 2020 season, it says 10 yards per reception. He only played 2 games. We can't even include that in the conversation. His career high in yards per reception was 8.4 yards in 2019 with the Giants. He tied that in 2024 with the Eagles with 8.4 yards per reception. So it's not like the production has lacked from him. It's more so the opportunities weren't created. Now, I will say this. These past couple seasons with the Eagles, he has dropped some passes that's made me scratch my head.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I think that's because lack of repetition. And sometimes putting the cart before the horse. What I'm trying to get to, you guys, is that I've always felt like Saquon Barkley has been underutilized in his offense. Not underutilized from the perspective of from his touches. Underutilized from the variety.
Yeah, we've been doing that we did it with Miles, we did it with DeAndre. Yeah.
This offense
something out of Mannion that I want to see Mannion bring back a true screen game.
It just doesn't feature the running back in the passing game. This offense in the Nick Sirianni era, the running back has not been truly a part of the passing game.
Correct. Big waste of space.
And I just think that when you got the running back involved in the passing game, it opens things so much more for those wide receivers and tight ends.
You ain't saying nothing, bro.
And look, when you got AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert, maybe you don't feel like you got to hit the running back in the passing game that much. Because some teams probably do it because of necessity. That's where the talent is,
Right.
right?
But you gotta run that type of stuff because that could be the thing that breaks it open because everybody concentrating on everybody else, everybody but.
You drafted Will Shipley. I actually like Will Shipley as a talent.
I do too.
You drafted Will Shipley. His game is the scat back. Catch the ball from the back. That's his game. Catch the ball from the backfield. That's his true. That's where he really thrives. Catching that ball from the backfield and making that one cut.
Yeah.
And you know, you draft guys like that. Okay, now I'm trying to figure out. Okay, when they drafted Will Shipley, I said to myself, "Oh, they're trying to get the running back more involved in the passing game. That's their vision for this." Didn't really happen the way I expected.
Did not manifest.
So what is Sean Mannion going to do with the running back position? We know Sean Mannion. Again, pass game coordinator for the Packers. You know, they had that tight end duo with Musgrave and Tucker Kraft. Musgrave was supposed to be the guy, got hurt. Tucker Kraft came along and had fantastic years under, in that passing game. You know, it's going to be interesting to see how that looks going forward. But overall, you know, right now the Eagles have no tight ends on the roster. None on the contract. They have, according to Spotrac, they have 20 free agents that I can see. Dallas Goedert, Reed Blankenship, Jalen Phillips, Azeez Ojulari, Jahan Dodson. And look, some of these names are as good as gone. I'm not even worried about some of these names. Don't get me wrong. But matter of fact, let's do it like this. I'm gonna go through these names because we're gonna start to close the show out pretty soon. I'm gonna go through every name, and I want you to tell me one or two things. I want you to either say keep or let him go.
Okay.
Dallas Goedert.
Let him go.
Let me take it a step further. When you give me your answer, I also want you to give me a one-word answer as to why. That's the challenge.
Okay. With Dallas, one word is going to be tough. But I know Dallas is a great tight end, but Dallas can't block worth shit.
At this point, right? So, all right, so Dallas Goedert, and again, keep or let him go and try to give a one-word reason as to why. Take all the time you need, by the way, but just try to give a one-word reason as to why you want to keep or let that player go.
I will let him go because he's old.
So Dallas Goedert, old.
Yep.
Reed Blankenship.
Keep him because he's solid.
Okay, solid. Jalen Phillips.
Keep him. He showed up.
Showed up. Okay. Azeez Ojulari.
Keep him. He showed up.
Interesting. Jahan Dodson.
Let him go. He had his shot.
Brandon Graham.
Keep him. Whatever he wants.
The punter, Braden Mann.
I would keep him. Special teams are tricky.
It always is.
You don't want to overthink. If you got somebody, he can punt the ball.
He got a boot on him.
Yeah, keep him. He proved it.
Yeah. Josh Uche.
You can let him go. Even though, I mean, he played well too, but we got others that would be better. So, numbers game with him.
Adoree Jackson.
He got to go. Just that position in general is like that should be a point of interest in the draft.
Got you. Tight end, Kylan Granson.
Nah. All tight ends are gone.
All right, got you. Guard, Matt Pryor.
You can keep him. We got to see. We got to see what we got. We ain't got Stoutland no more, but we still got. They in the house, so you might as well cook with them.
Tackle, Fred Johnson.
Keep Fred because Lane is coming back.
Okay. Running back, AJ Dillon.
Gotta go. We got Tank and we got Shipley.
I know the answer to this one. Linebacker, Nakobe Dean.
Keep Cole. He proved it. He proved it. He was above and beyond any expectations after that injury.
Mm-hmm. Edge, Ogbo Oronquo.
I like him.
He's coming off.
I would say keep him because
tear.
he. I mean, I like him and Jalen Phillips. Plus Nolan Smith. He good with them damn shoulder injuries.
Marcus Epps, safety.
You know what? I wouldn't mind keeping Epps. Just so we ain't got to worry about it.
Brett Toth, guard / safety. I'm sorry, interior offensive lineman, basically.
Yeah, keep him. He proved it. And then they never went back to him.
I still feel
but I'd rather see him at guard than center. But I know he's a swing, so they're gonna move him around as they see fit.
Yeah. Well, remember, we know that he played better at center this year than at guard because we was talking about like, hey, yo, like Cam is struggling.
Yeah.
But we know Drew Kendall is the backup there. I like Drew Kendall, that young guy. I like him a lot. All right. Fullback, Ben Van Sumeren.
We can keep him. He's a hybrid. Teach him how to catch. Put him out there in the patterns.
Sam Howell, backup quarterback.
Nah. We can get somebody as a free agent if we want to back up.
All right. And I'm not going to ask you this one because you already said tight ends out. Grand Cacatera. You said all I'm going. So, all right, man. It's the reality is
you got one.
Oh, did I?
Jake Elliott.
He's a free agent?
No, but we need a new kicker.
They asked him. They asked Howie about Jake. By the way, they asked him about Jake the Snake. And
just keep it above.
All he could do is talk about what he did for him. That's all he could do. Listen, you won 2 Super Bowls with this. You won 2 Super Bowls with this kicker. It's not going to be the easiest to move on from him.
I agree.
It won't be the easiest.
I just hope we don't fuck around and find out.
I feel you on that. On that note, man, let's close the show up, man. I really do appreciate you as always, my guy. I saw your message dumbly. My bad, bro.
It's all good. It's all good.
So yeah, man. Make sure y'all smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to both channels. Subscribe to Pro Fan Talk. Subscribe to Chalk It Up Sports. You guys know how we carry it here. We really do appreciate you guys. You're going to catch us next week, Tuesday at the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. And it's straight like that. He's Marcus Thomas. I'm your guy, Tone DeShields II. This has been the Bald Eagles Podcast. As always, fly Eagles fly.
Go Birds.
In the city of Philly, where the birds take flight, Eagle swag on the rise each and every night. Tone and Markus got the scoop ready to ignite. From the lanes of South Street to the Broad Street lights. Dashing like a running back, hitting every play. Fly guys in the zone, never led astray. Talking touchdowns, talking game day. Huddle around the mic, hear what they gotta say. Fly like an eagle soaring in the sky. Tone and Markus always standing by. Bringing their heat, call it do or die. Philly squad. squad.